Hello, everybody, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us from maybe all the way across the river, possibly, St. Paul, AJ and
Minneapolis, still on
Minneapolis.
the, yeah.
Okay, you are on our side of the river.
Yeah.
We should have just done this all in person. AJ and Rena from A Steam Machine, welcome to the show.
Oh, wow.
Love it.
And folks are excited. They're showing up right on time. Everyone's ready for happy hour today.
Chris, what do you got there? Cold, light in body, Uda Pills Brewing. Wow, that sounds delicious.
That sounds great.
It's not too far from us.
Oh, Uda Pills.
Yes. And Connie from Richfield, hi. And Severin joining us from Germany.
Severin,
Hey.
And, I'm impressed because it's nighttime there and he's having coffee. So that's kind of living on the wild side for me. I don't know. And Joe locked onto the signal from the shores of beautiful blue and sparkling Lake Harriet. Nice.
Oh, nice. It's a
We should have been
gorgeous day
doing
here.
this outside. We were just saying that.
Yeah, it's a really nice day here in the Twin Cities.
And all right, my dad tuning in from Connecticut with Evan Williams and lots of folks. And Anne, happy Friday, having a snack. Congratulations, Anne, a teacher who's now suddenly free for the summer. So congratulations to folks who are winding up their school year. Well, no matter what kind of week you've had, I will say, and I continue to say every week, I'm really happy to be here because this is the sign that the weekend is starting. We get to just hang out, enjoy music together, catch up with our friends, and maybe discover some new old music, which is one of our favorite things. And it seems appropriate. We're going to talk about new old music on today's show in particular, given that we're going to be revisiting some old-timey string tunes on the show. But for folks who maybe aren't as familiar with your music, AJ and Rena, you've done a lot of different music here in the Twin Cities and beyond, all different string band kinds of music. But maybe you could give us a brief bio about how you got into the music and how you met each other and maybe what set up this particular recording we're going to revisit today.
Yeah. You want to start? Should I?
You go first.
Well, we both, I think, had sort of different journeys to getting into playing music at all. But they both kind of involve our families. My parents were big folk dancers. They did a lot of folk dancing, and I, as a little kid, went to folk dances and stuff with them. Have memories of kind of falling asleep to music. I didn't start to play. I played classical kind of in high school and things like that. And I didn't start to play any old time until I was just leaving Michigan for college. I just got into it right before I was leaving. And it turned out that the person who had been my fifth grade orchestra teacher, her husband was a great old time musician and Cajun musician. So is, yeah. So I'm just telling it past tense because that was when it happened to me. But so he taught me my first fiddle tune, and then after that, I kind of got hooked. Came here, met the Wild Goose Chase Cloggers, and they introduced me to all sorts of things happening in the Twin Cities. How about you?
Well, yeah, same thing. I came from a pretty musical family. My dad's a great guitar player, and probably similar to Rena's parents. My folks were going to college kind of in the big hippie folk boom of the 70s and listening to a bunch of stuff like Pentangle and Steel Ice Band and all this sort of, modern takes on old music. And my dad always just had tons of music around, and, they were pretty encouraging to let me mess around with stuff we had around the house. And I'd taken some piano lessons and didn't really like it. It was like too structured or something. I don't know. I didn't like it. And my dad is a great guitar player, does like kind of finger style stuff. And he showed me some guitar things, and I liked it okay, but it still wasn't really hitting the nerve yet. But I think they saw that I had some whatever natural ability or at least desire for it. And then my dad bought a fiddle for himself. And for whatever reason, I was just like hooked. Like the second that thing was in the house, that's just all I wanted to do with all of my time always. I was probably 10 years old or something.
for those that aren't super familiar with old time music, it was my dad's fiddle or my older brother's fiddle or my mom's fiddle sitting on the wall, and I like snuck it down, started to play it as like a classic
trope.
yeah, it's a classic trope.
I mean, I think only recently someone brought up the point that like maybe the discouraging, like, don't touch my fiddle, young man. That was all like actually trying to get them to do it. You want to find the boundaries.
There might be something to that. I've had banjos and guitars laying around since my kids were little, and now they like are really into EDM music. I should have told them to not touch whatever they do. Just do not touch.
Can't touch the banjo. This is very valuable. I don't want you to
yeah. I think there's something to it, but I'm sure they'll find their way back. That's really, really cool. So when did you guys meet?
Well, there's a gathering that's been going on for a long time, 20 some years in Lanesboro, Minnesota. That's called the Bluff Country Gathering. And I have been going to that. It's a kind of a several day camp, essentially,
like
workshops where mostly old time musicians come in from all over the country and teach. And then there's dances and stuff like that. So I had been there, and it was kind of nighttime, and I heard this really great fiddling. I was like, what is that? And I remember going and joining this jam with, I didn't know who it was, and it was a little dark, so I couldn't really see who it was either, but played a lot of music for a while with AJ, and then didn't meet him actually until the next morning.
Well, there's actually, there's a little more to it too, because this was the first time we had gone to it, and I went with, at the time I was living in Red Wing. I'd gone to the instrument repair school there. Mm-hmm. And just sort of by chance, there happened to be a bunch of people interested in old time music that went the year I went, including the person standing behind me in the registration line for school like a year earlier, who ended up being Aaron, who's on the CD playing banjo with us. We literally stood next to each other in line for registration, and then signed a lease like a couple hours later.
You're like, hey, do you want to live together?
You play banjo? But there ended up being a bunch of people that year that liked to play kind of old time fiddle music, and to varying degrees or whatever. So we were that weekend was like, we graduated the Thursday from the program, and then head to Lanesboro on Friday, and so all of us were playing in a jam, and Rena and a couple other people from the community rolled up, and we had came up for the Red Wing crew had come up for a few things here and there, but we really didn't know very many people. So I'm sure and we were, at the time, a lot of us were pretty rowdy. So
yeah, they brought some new energy into the scene.
But anyway, we were playing music, and Rena comes up and played with us.
It's a jam circle love story.
Yeah.
Folks, music brings people together, and that's awesome. That's great. Just heard the fiddle in the distance, and the rest is history. And you guys are married now, correct?
Now we're married. Now she's like, what was I thinking? She never stops playing. I hate this. There's not a quiet minute in my life.
Well, tell us a little bit about how, the band Steam Machine, because the recording we're going to listen to today is under the name Steam Machine. Who else rounded out this group, or was it essentially you two?
So, it was us. And then again, at the time of Red Wing, right after Red Wing, we were playing a bunch of music. It would be me and Rena, and then Aaron Tacky, who's playing banjo and singing on the CD. And then there's a couple other people that were we were hanging out with a lot, but they kind of came in and out of playing and their interest level. And then a lot of us started going down to Cliff Top, which is a big,
it's kind of like the convention of old time.
Yeah, it's the largest
music.
old time music gathering in the world. It's like probably 5,000 people hanging out in the mountains of West Virginia, and there's contests and just literally all night jamming. Like, there is never someone not playing. It's all day.
It's like as soon as the late night folks go to sleep, the early morning folks wake up, and there's
people
just no
they go
stop.
for like 10 days. It's a long thing. So we were going to that a lot, and a lot of other festivals too. And so we met. We went to, actually, the first year we went to Cliff Top. We were walking around. We didn't know anyone. It's kind of a hard place to meet people the first year because it's like a big
It's
family.
just really
reunion.
big and a lot of people there. Yeah.
So we just kind of rambled around a lot and listened to people. But there was one guy playing and just shredding the fiddle. They're like, who is that guy? You know, and he was just killing it. And he was one of these people that he'd be playing for like 4 days straight, and then you wouldn't see him because he'd be sleeping it off forever. Just great. And but didn't really talk to him much. But then he ended up being at
We
another.
were too shy.
We were too shy.
Yeah.
He ended up being at another festival. We went to the Portland Old Time Gathering. Again, this is like a lot of the Red Wing crowd that we were all hanging out and playing.
They called them the puppy pile. That was the name that they got.
Because you're all kind of younger. And
Yeah, it's like
new to
young,
this.
like sleeping on the floor in somebody's spare room.
Yeah.
Pile. Yeah.
Well, anyway, we meet this guy again at the Portland Old Time Gathering. His name's Ngozi Fields, and not only is he just a killer fiddler, but he's a killer bass player. And we start just basically spending, anytime we go to a festival, it would just be all of us hanging out and having a great time. And we always wanted to do something. And honestly, I mean, we had ideas of trying to be a band and do different things. We'd never really taken it very seriously. And we entered the contest at Clifftop as Steam Machine. It was me and Rena and Aaron, Tacky, and Ngozi entered the contest, and we made it to the finals. And then in the finals, there was a 5-way tie.
Oh, man.
That's the first time in the history of the festival that this ever happened in the band contest.
It was an epic year.
A 5-way tie. So then everyone had to play, like all 5 bands, it's 5 bands make the finals. Everyone had to play a tiebreaker. And we tied again. It's just like they score you, and then they hand their sheets in, and they score the next person. So however the points lay out, it is what it is. So we had to play again. So it was like a double tiebreaker, and we ended up taking second.
That's pretty good,
That's
though.
pretty amazing. Yeah, especially since you were the puppy pile. You just met. You're kind of throwing this. It's a new project. And
the other thing was that at the time, playing 3-finger style banjo was a little more of
It had been done
a
like
hot button issue. It had
like
been
Foghorn.
done, but
Foghorn kind of like broke the ice and had 3-finger and old time music, but.
So that's Foghorn String Band for those folks who
Foghorn
are
String
unfamiliar. Go look them up. They're awesome.
Yeah, killer band. But most people weren't really doing it. There's some people they might play 3-finger without picks and on an open back banjo or 2-finger. There was a couple people doing it for sure, but it wasn't really, it hadn't reached that profile of like a Clifftop finalist band.
we weren't sure how it would go over, like to have that 3-finger banjo, because it's not less traditional, really.
Right.
But some people think it
is.
is.
And for those who are unfamiliar with old time music and bluegrass music, we have folks here joining us who have all kinds of musical backgrounds. Like pedigree is a big deal, as we're going to probably hear when we hear about these songs coming up. So I think that's even more amazing that you made it to the finals, tied for first place with this different style of banjo, which is definitely not what one would consider traditional in that subgenre of string band music.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yes, we're both thinking the same thing, aren't we, Ellen?
yes, music. Okay, now that we've been talking
it.
about it, we need to get to that music. So the first track that you picked from this self-titled debut album of Steam Machines is back in '89. What can you tell us about this track before we dive in?
Well, this track comes from really one of the band. I mean, actually, when we recorded the album, we were this was a major influence, but we were kind of honoring a lot of influences at the time. But I would say the longer the band exists, we've become more and more dedicated to playing tunes from this one fiddler named Lyman Enlow, who, he actually lived in Kansas City. He was born in Kansas City, but he's just a great Missouri fiddler that played just really well, and always had he had the Bluegrass Association backing him up, and it was just like straight ahead bluegrass backup behind like ripping square dance fiddle tunes.
The OG fiddle tunes with 3-finger banjo backup.
Yeah.
Nice. So kind of like the precursor to what you guys have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, definitely in my top biggest influences of fiddlers I've listened to. I just love them.
And
Awesome.
yeah, and kind of a similar style to like what AJ likes to do, like pretty sort of clean and sort of, well, how would you describe it? But longbow it's called. No, just kidding. But I was particularly delighted. We read this. We were playing all these Lyman and Low tunes, and AJ, whenever he would play something he didn't like, if he'd mess up or play something poorly, he'd be like, "Oh, that was trash," and we saw this quote that Lyman would also say that was trash when he played. I was like, oh my gosh, connected.
Well, that's the last word I would think of when I hear AJ fiddling. But hey, everybody, it's Friday afternoon, and we got Steam Machine in the house. We're going to kick off the music listening portion of the show with Back in '89. Steam Machine here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. Turn it up.
Yes, Steam Machine getting us moving here on our Friday afternoon on Back Catalog Listening Party. Today, AJ and Rena from the band Steam Machine are joining us live from their home in Minneapolis on this beautiful, sunny Friday afternoon where we're having some drinks, listening to some music, and listening to some tunes, and some great comments from folks. Joe saying, great music for watching sailboats on the lake. I hope you're playing the Lake here at Banjo this summer sometime. I don't know. Are you? I know you have a busy schedule, but I don't know if you're stopping at Lake.
Yeah, that's not one of them, but we do have other in-town stuff coming up, quite a few things. So, whoopsie, our website should have all that on there.
Yep, and you can find them at steammachinemusic.com. Scrolling through there, I'll throw it in the comments and in the show notes as well. And Chris says, you guys must play a lot of barn dances. Super fun, foot stomping ruckus. That's a good description.
Yeah, we do really love playing for dances. It's super fun.
I sent a little email to our Patreon folks last night and was trying to describe like this difference between bluegrass and old time music. I think it's really interesting in your description of the band that you call yourselves old time bluegrass because it's really perfect in the kind of way that you bridge these two, subgenres of string band music that often people just lump in together. But if you're nerdy like us, then you kind of know all these little differences, clawhammer, three finger, and all the rest. But for me, I guess my thesis, and you guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong, was just like the function of the music seems to be the biggest differentiator between the two. So old time, we have like communal dance music. Bluegrass, we have like stage performance music.
Exactly.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I think that it's the same stuff. It's just like one is like for dancing to or participating in, and the other one is like radio, stage, like,
Yeah, like
I mean,
tightly arranged vocal
yeah,
harmonies.
So,
Right.
fancier solos to get the crowd amped
Mhm.
up. And I mean, but it's the same stuff, It
Right. Same
requires the same.
songbooks, right?
Yeah.
But I one of the things like Chris was saying about the foot stomping, there is like just a different groove and a different feel, and it does make you want to get up. So if you're out there and you're listening to this, get up and dance.
And if you're by Lake Harriet, you might see Joe dancing around.
Yes, that's right.
In the band shell. I also wanted to ask about that tune, and I know that really we could probably spend the whole hour talking about the history of each of these tunes because that's another sort of big thing as in all kinds of string band and folk music, but in particular in old time, people always want to. If you haven't seen an old time performance, people spend a lot of time talking about where they learned the tune, who from, all that kind of thing. But with this one, it was called Back in '89. I want to know which century we're talking about for '89.
That's hilarious. You never know.
Well, it's actually
1989.
Oh, okay.
I think this is. I might be wrong, and I shouldn't even maybe say this out loud. But this tune, I do have it. Someone transcribed a bunch of Lyman's tunes, and they talk about each one in this transcriptions. And this one, they were like playing it on the radio or something, and he didn't know the name of it. And the radio DJ was just like, call it Back in '89, and like,
Yeah. So
Wow.
that was what I remember
Oh, yeah.
too. That it got.
We
I think
we have our
put it. We had to take our liner notes out to be like, what did
just
we say?
nice.
as a
Like, what-
slight shameless self promotion. If you do like the stuff and you buy the CD and you get the actual copy and how to download, we spent a lot of time on the liner notes talking about each thing.
Let's take a look at that. We got
Wow.
the website scrolling here, folks. It is true. Like one of the things that sucked me into this music was I'm kind of a history nerd, and you'd buy these Smithsonian Folkways records, and like it'd be like a treatise. It'd be like 100 pages of liner notes with footnotes and all the rest, telling you where the stuff comes from. And I love that you have that included. I don't have a hard copy, but I might have to get myself one now just to read through that. And you can get one too at steammachinemusic.com. You guys shipping them directly from your place?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
And just a couple of cool things. So like in the when we recorded it, we did the whole project on tape,
Oh, nice.
and Tom Herbers was the engineer, and
Oh, he's great.
so we had all super cool microphones, like old microphones, and he did everything on tape. And he had the computer on, but all he was doing was backing up each take of the tapes. But we mixed everything on a console. We didn't fix anything. We even mastered it to tape. Like, and he was like on some of the
Analog.
songs, he was like writing the faders, while mixing it. And I mean, totally analog.
Old
And
school.
then the packaging, it's at the time, our good friend Addie was working at a letterpress place, and the CDs are actually letterpressed on an old school machine.
The covers,
The
not
cover,
the CDs.
yeah, not the
Yeah.
disc, but like the actual packaging is like
Can you show that up there to the screen? That's really nice.
like
That's
you can
really
feel
nice.
like it's pressed in. I mean, it's we tried to go as analog as possible. It was pretty fun.
I love it. And so for those who are just listening, we've been showing some pictures of this analog setup, and in this day and age, I mean, this is what 2018.
Yeah.
To do that, to go right to tape, I see a big tape machine there, and he mentioned the engineer was not automating the ups and the downs of the volume you're hearing. He was doing it by hand. I love it. Like it kind of goes back to the old days of recording, and you can hear it in this recording as well. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking when we were listening to that last one. I haven't listened to the CD in a long time. It's hard to listen to your own stuff, but we have pretty nice headphones, and I was like, I like how this is recorded. The tone is.
And from that picture, it looked like you guys were just all in a circle, just playing it live. Yeah.
Yep, this one room
I love it.
together.
I love it. It's and the name is so fitting too. Like it's like this modern idea of a mechanical thing, a steam machine, but it's pretty retro as well. Almost like I love it. It's perfect, and the recording process as well. So was that ribbon mics I saw there too?
Yeah, he has. Tom has got a mixture of all kind of things, that a bunch of ribbons, and
Well,
And it's also cool because Tom Herbers has done such a wide variety of music. You know, he's known for a lot of, more like pop and rock stuff, but, a good engineer is a good engineer. And someone who can really capture the essence of, of, of the music that you do is, I think, really special. And Severin was saying, such a beautiful CD cover and artwork and booklet. Everybody get yourself a copy.
Yes.
And I agree. So, and while folks are doing that, if you have questions, especially about any of the things we're talking about, because again, with a bunch of two banjo players,
Nerds.
a fiddler,
You wanna say it,
guitarist,
nerds.
some
all kinds
inside
of pickers.
baseball going on here.
Yeah. So definitely, if you have a question about anything we're talking about or anything else, feel free to throw it in the comments, and we'll make sure to answer your questions and get to as many as we can. But the next song we've queued up is Dink's Dusty Miller. Is there anything you want to say about it before we dive in?
Well, this can link us to modern bluegrass a little bit more.
Well, so this we
For
learned
those
this
who
from
listen to that.
a fiddler named Gene Goforth, who's from Eminence, Missouri, and he played mostly actually played bluegrass and stuff, but he did know a bunch of tunes from his dad and his uncle, and John Hartford actually, after John made all that money with Gentle on My Mind, he spent a lot of time and resources traveling around in Missouri and hanging out. He had this love for Missouri fiddle tunes, and he collected all of these killer fiddlers, and he made this deal to get Gene to record a bunch of his old time tunes. And so they did. I think it's on County, and it's John's playing banjo with him, and this guy Al Murphy is playing guitar. And Al lives in Iowa City, and we've been lucky enough to meet him in the last, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago or something. And Al also just collected tons of music, and he's one of these people that, he knows more about old time and bluegrass than any human I know. And he kind of sees them as the same thing. And he's a great fiddler and great guitar player. He played backup on one Kenny Baker album and just killer guy. But he hung out with Gene and Lyman all the time. My two biggest.
He did an apprenticeship with both of them, which is
funded by the state of Missouri, where
Iowa,
whatever. But he hung out with them a bunch, and they're two of my favorite fiddlers. And then I get to meet him, a few years ago, and it was so awesome. And he just had so many stories. Apparently, Lyman and Gene were polar opposites. Lyman was just really quiet, really polite, just nice guy, and Gene was just this cantankerous kind of wild man, and kind of had a potty mouth, and you can hear it in their fiddling too if you check out their albums. But for those of you that are into John Hartford, because I know there's so many fans out there, I don't think it was his last album, but whatever that one is where he does all that weird talking while he's playing those tunes, where he's like they're jumping on a bunch of snakes in a field, and I ran them off with my, he says all this weird stuff. Those are all actually stories Gene told about dances growing up.
That's great answer.
And if you buy this, Eminence Breakdown is the record that John Hartford, Al Murphy, and Gene Goforth did. He tells all these stories in between each tune. And then that record of John's is all Gene Goforth tunes that Hartford, turned into his own thing. I love it. It's
super cool. Well, in the spirit of old time nerdiness, we will find those links and put those footnotes in our show notes for this episode, which will just be backcataloglisteningparty.com/114. But let's should we give this one a spin?
Yeah.
I'm excited. All right. So we have AJ and Rena here from the band Steam Machine, and we're going to listen to Dink's Dusty Miller here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Ha!
All
Love
right.
that little ending. That was Steam Machine with Dink's Dusty Miller. And yeah, you can really hear that bluegrass old timey crossover with the way the banjo is being played on that track. So if folks were
Mm-hmm.
wondering what we were talking about, that I think that's a great example of that. Um,
Yeah. And where's Aaron from? Because that he's got a groove on that three finger style that doesn't feel upper Midwestern to me.
We're all from the middle of the country.
The upper
Everybody is
Midwest?
from, yeah.
He's from Fargo.
Really,
Yep.
man, he's
We
got.
got-
He really's got it dialed in for a three finger in that with that groove.
It's the old timey no DAC style.
Yeah,
Haven't you
no
heard
DAC.
of that, Tony?
It's just that much closer to Canada. We were having
Yeah.
this discussion before the show. Looks like we got a question from Chris, who he wants to know how many instruments you guys both play, and do you sing?
We do sing.
Good segue. Yeah, to the next one.
No, not that one.
Oh wait, sorry. No,
Um,
in a few coming up.
We both
Yeah.
do sing. On this album, Rena and Aaron did all the singing.
hmm
Nowadays, Rena and I are doing.
AJ only sings when forced, but the pandemic kind of forced him to have to sing more. So now get to hear his lovely voice.
Yeah. And then, I don't know. I mean, I play. Mostly I just play the fiddle and the pedal steel, but I can play a little guitar.
AJ is pretty good at the guitar. Yeah. And I started out playing the fiddle, but then I kind of switched over to rhythm, and I'm just very happy. I love playing the guitar, and then I play bass too, and I really love playing the bass also.
She can still fiddle though.
A little.
Nice.
A
Do
little.
you guys ever do a little twin fiddling together?
Yeah, we've been working on some twin fiddling lately.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to hear that.
Look out.
Well, and for those who aren't from the Twin Cities area of Minneapolis, St. Paul, I mean, you guys have your hands in lots of different projects. And so the pedal steel and the guitar and the bass, it could be anything from classic country to old time
Yeah,
Cajun,
a lot of Cajun music. Yeah.
dances. It does seem that like the one thread is danceable music.
Yeah, definitely.
Is that just like
Yeah.
part of your thing?
Oh, I love playing dances. It's like any type of Cajun dance, a country dance, square dance. It's so fun to just like, I don't know. It's the best energy on a stage I've ever experienced. Just because it's not like you're not performing. So if you mess up or you biff or something, it doesn't
Right.
really matter. But like, because it doesn't, and the people are interacting with you by dancing, it kind of fires you up. And it's just like, I play way better if I'm playing for a dance than like in a concert hall or something where everyone's very quiet. And,
It's like a cyclical energy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like you're giving it to them, they're giving it back. It goes around and around.
yeah.
And I would imagine that during COVID, that must have been one of the challenges because, dances were kind of shut down,
Yeah.
So you were pretty much, I mean, obviously all musicians, we were playing to a lot of screens, but I would imagine that's even more challenging if you're used to the energy of the sweaty people in a room.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and there is a lot of old time tradition that was people playing just for themselves or on the back porch or just for fun, for their own enjoyment. So I guess we had to lean into that part of it during the pandemic, but we've been so happy that Monday night square dance is back up and running, and the energy's been really, really great.
And for folks who are interested in living around the Twin Cities, where does that take place?
That is at the Eagles Club, and it's the first and third Monday of the month. So
Yeah.
it's a good place
You
to.
don't have to have any experience. There's a caller and a live band, and we get a lot of beginners that have never danced before coming. And the dance has been going for 40 years, so just come check it out.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yep, we will also link that in the show notes for those of you who
Awesome.
are interested. And speaking of the different genres that you play, Joe had a question for you. How Irish or Celtic do you get? Do you play any of these Kaylee
Yeah,
sessions?
I started playing the fiddle, playing Irish music because that was mostly what my dad was into and what I had access to, and I spent a lot of time playing that. And when I got out of high school, I went to Ireland for a while, and then right when I came back, my brother had bought a banjo, and I was a little Irish music out, so I started learning some old time tunes with him. And I've kind of fallen away from it in the last bit of time here, but I still love to listen to it.
And it's another danceable tradition. Speaking
Right.
of which, it's another
Right.
part of that thread, right?
Yeah.
Of that. Well, this is so much fun to have AJ and Rena join us today from the band Steam Machine as we revisit their 2018 self-titled album, old timey bluegrass, as we're calling it. And this next tune that you picked to feature is called Birdie. Is there anything you want to say about this before you fly into it?
Go get more grassy.
More grassy. Well, kind of. So
Yeah.
this is sort of a tying together pick here. Lyman Enlow, who played back in '89, and Gene Goforth and Dinks Dusty Miller were both just avid Kenny Baker fans, and I think grew to be friends with him over the years when he would be traveling through.
And for those who don't know who Kenny Baker is,
Kenny Baker played fiddle with Bill Monroe and was just one of the greatest fiddlers to ever play the instrument, in my opinion.
Amen.
And in
Amen.
a lot of people's opinion.
Yeah.
In a lot of people's opinion.
Synonymous with bluegrass fiddling for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But Kenny, I think, really was a great old-time fiddler. He really, his feel of the beat and stuff, he plays his breakdowns like an old-time fiddler. And his dad was a great old-time fiddler. Thaddeus Baker was his dad's name. I have a couple of recordings of him and Kenny playing together, and they're just playing square dance tunes like this one, Birdie. But I learned this from Lyman, and it's a kind of a common tune, like a lot of West Virginians play it. But it's a little, it's the same tune, definitely, but I've never heard it quite like this. And Lyman played it that way. And then I talked to my friend Al Murphy about where Lyman had learned it, and he learned it from Kenny Baker. And sure enough, I found it it's on the Kenny Baker and Joe Green LP on County, and it's just exactly the same version as that. So.
And one other quick fun fact. So Lyman had released this album called Fiddle Tunes, I recall, and it didn't, I think this is accurate to say, like it wasn't necessarily well distributed, but Kenny Baker heard it and loved it and kind of pushed for it to get better distributed. So he was a big Lyman Enlow fan. And also Lyman Enlow ended up winning or getting a National Heritage Award. I don't know if sort of Kenny pushing for this had to do with that or not. I don't remember what order those things happened. But anyway, they were mutual appreciators of each other.
Nice. I love the history. All right, let's give it a listen. This is Steam Machine, Birdie, here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Yeah.
Held that note at the end.
Yeah, I love that. Steam Machine here on the back catalog listening party with Birdie from their 2018 debut album. AJ and Rena joining us from the band today. And yeah, a lot of folks enjoying that. And Cheryl says, late to the party, but we'll catch up later. You know, it's never too late for good music. That's what this show is all about.
Yep.
It's just rediscovering old tunes and great recordings. So sounding really, really good. And I would love to know. I mean, so far the titles that we've of the tunes we've featured today are not too crazy for old timey tunes. Again, we had Back in '89, Dinks, Dusty Miller, Birdie. But there's some pretty wild titles out there. We were talking about this a little bit before he came on the show today. Do you have any favorite old timey like tune titles or song titles that you want to share?
Well, this just reminds me. There was a little thing going around on Facebook for a while with a bunch of people that were trying to make tune names only from emojis. And it was like, but they wouldn't say the names, so you just see these things, you had to guess it. It was like so fun.
Yeah.
Oh boy, good tune names. I mean, old Aunt Jenny with her nightcap on is, I don't know, there's like a bunch.
Some of them are very descriptive. I'll have to think about old time, but in terms of Cajun music, one of my all-time favorites is Hold My False Teeth and Let's Go Dancing.
No, it's Let Me Show You How to Dance.
Hold My False Teeth and Let Me Show You How to Dance.
Oh,
wow. Even better.
That is better. Wow. That's really good. Yeah, no, there's some choice titles out there that, so if you get down the old timey rabbit hole, which maybe Steam Machine is paving the way for some of you to take those first steps into the I don't know. Is that a cave or is it?
It's a beautiful rabbit hole, and you know, if you go to steammachinemusic.com, you can pick up the CD. It's got all those fancy liner notes. It's going to give you the history. You're going to get hooked. Yeah. And then you're going to follow. You're going to say, "Oh, who is that person?" You know, I'm going to go, figure out his music and who is his influence, and you just keep going back.
It can be a dark, deep hole.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Joe says, "Get those headphones on, brothers and sisters. This is one hell of a mix." And it's true. We're listening on high quality headphones. You might just be listening on your phone or while you're doing other things out in the yard. But it is worth getting the album and listening because it does sound fantastic.
I mean, it's recorded together in a beautiful studio on analog tape. I mean, it's like there's just a warmth and a depth, to this kind of recording. And yeah, I'm really excited about. And this is again, I get to hear the wave files, the uncompressed files here on my end. I'm serving them up, and it sounds really good.
I was going to say, if you are just like totally done with CDs, I think if you get the thing from Bandcamp, we did upload waves and they are available. So if you're a hi-fi file kind of person, that we do have waves.
Sounds like our audience, Ellen.
Yeah.
I'll also just mention that. So it is on Bandcamp digitally, and today is Bandcamp Friday, and it's also a fundraiser. It's Juneteenth fundraiser today. So it's I think the proceeds are going to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. So if you do buy it today, it's a good day to buy it because it'll go towards that.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Really
we'll get a link here in the comments here shortly.
Yeah, and we should also mention that in addition to that, and at Bandcamp, you can also name your price. So if you want to throw in a little extra tip for Steam Machine and help fuel their next record, or maybe fill up their gas tank because they're actually
it ain't running on steam anymore.
Sadly not.
Sadly not.
But so because they're traveling and they're back on the road playing a lot of shows, especially around our Midwest region. I know your next show in the Twin Cities is June 29th at Ice House, but then you'll be in Harris and Excelsior, Minnesota, and all kinds of places. So folks can keep tabs on you at steammachinemusic.com. And I'll say, I mean, the recording's great. You definitely have to have it so you can again, dig into the liner notes and listen to this music. But really the way to hear it is live because again, this music was meant to be performed live for dancing bodies. So definitely check that out if you can, and get your questions and comments in as you can. This next track we're going to listen to is Do Not Wait Till I'm Underneath the Clay. I don't know what I wonder what they're not waiting until. I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's
like
kind of
what?
interesting.
Do
right.
not wait for what? That's what I want to know.
You know,
Yeah.
Do
whatever.
not, yeah,
Whatever it could be.
don't wait for it. Yeah.
It might. I think that just messages don't wait till it's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this one will have some vocals. So for those of you who are asking, there'll be some singing.
This is, I think, where like we've been kind of branding this as old time bluegrass or whatever, and like a lot of the old time tunes, we're playing pretty traditionally from however we learned them. But most of the songs we end up becoming slightly more bluegrassy sounding than old time sounding. And this is probably even more true nowadays than even when we did this album. But this song is kind of a good example of it. It's the original recording. We got it from, there was a release that Yazoo Records did that was all these home recordings in 78s from the Library of Congress of music from Kentucky. And there's just
so some Library of Congress recordings and some commercial recordings all in one set.
giant
together.
compilation.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the best. It's called like
Kentucky Mountain Music.
Kentucky
I'm looking
Mountain.
at the liner notes.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
It's an amazing collection. If you like old 78s and crazy rare songs that no one else has done, this is just an amazing collection. But every band in there is called like the Kentuckians or the Kentucky Ramblers or the Kentucky Mountaineers or whatever. This is from the Kentucky Ramblers, and their recording doesn't sound anything like what we
Yeah,
did.
we changed it quite a bit. We moved it up to B flat and then later to B. So the key of B, which is not the typical key that is played in old time music.
It's a little more bluegrass
Except for the
right
next
there.
fiddler
B
we're
for
gonna talk
bluegrass.
about,
Bill
but-
Monroe like the B.
Yeah.
Well, we got both kinds here on the back catalog. We got old time and bluegrass. This is Steam Machine bringing it with Do Not Wait Till I'm Underneath the Clay here on the back catalog listening party.
Do not wait till I'm under the clay. Let your blessing be given today. Let your kindness be shown ere my spirit has flown. Do not wait till I'm laid beneath the clay. If you have any flowers on my grave to bestow, I will gladly receive them today. You may scatter them now while I cherish them so. Do not wait till I'm laid beneath the clay. Do not wait till I'm under the clay. Let your blessing be given today. Let your kindness be shown ere my spirit has flown. Do not wait till I'm laid beneath the clay. If you have any words that would comfort and cheer, any words that would brighten my way, you may speak them today while I'm anxious to hear. Do not wait till I'm laid beneath the clay. Do not wait till I'm under the clay. Let your blessing be given today. Let your kindness be shown ere my spirit has flown. Do not wait till I'm laid beneath the clay. Do not wait till I'm under the clay. Let your blessing be given today. Let your kindness be shown ere my spirit has flown. Do not wait till I'm laid beneath the clay. Do not wait till I'm laid beneath the clay.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Steam Machine. Do not wait till I'm underneath the clay. And I have to say, this was the first song we've heard on today's show. A lot of them have been instrumental tunes, but not all the old timey tunes are as lovely as that lyrically. So it's nice to have something that's such a positive message.
Yeah.
You know, not like a murder
Yeah,
ballad
that
or
Very
something like
uplifting.
that.
Right.
Timeless message and
Yeah.
definitely a little bluegrass treatment on that one. That sounded
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, for sure. And beautiful stuff. Again, Steam Machine joining us today on the Back Catalog Listening Party. This is the show where we invite different guest artists to revisit old records. And today, it's called Steam Machine. It was letterpress. It was recorded analog, but it came out in 2018. So this is a perfect encapsulation of what our show is about: new and old coming together. And yeah, that's the cover. It just
sums it up.
Great. It does. So folks can check it out, buy it on Bandcamp today, and support the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. And name your own price and give a little extra to AJ and Rena. Fill up the gas tank. And yeah, that tune was so great. And are you really selective about when you do songs? Are you really, because you're not like, some artists, if they have a lot of songs in their repertoire, then they might not be as choosy. Are you more picky then when you are going to sing? You're like, oh, this is going to stand out to people when we sing it, like at a show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not going to do the like cutting the chickens' heads off kinds of songs as much.
We do
I mean,
some
sometimes.
sort of
Just
dark.
When it
depends
calls
on the
for it,
context.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just like we are. It's like very hard to pick songs.
What we started saying, will it steam? Because like certain songs, just like we couldn't figure out. Certain songs just lend themselves better to the sound and the type of instruments and way we were doing things than others. And so we really had to go through kind of a lot of songs to find the ones that would do that. And we still are doing that. And then now AJ and I sing together a lot, and our ranges only line up in like a couple keys. So like almost everything is in the key of E or F or maybe D. But
I'm with you on that, AJ.
Yeah.
I'm with you on
E
that
all
one.
day, man.
Yeah.
E all day. Well, and just a little side note, because I do want the show to be educational. Like, this is what might have glossed. You might not have noticed is Ellen mentioned songs. All right. And earlier we said tunes. And what I've discovered is most people think songs and tunes are the same thing, but in this little microcosm of string band
Totally
nerdery, tunes, instrumental, songs, singing. So there you go, folks.
Yeah.
Now you're in the know as well.
There are some kind of tune songs.
there are some tune songs.
Oh, yeah. Old Joe Clark, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that kind
New
of
River
thing.
Train, stuff like
Yep,
that.
yep. And that's you might get it as a tune, you might get it as a song, but anyways, that one I didn't understand that for years, and I felt very embarrassed. So I want to save you all the trouble.
We don't want you to be embarrassed. We want you to go forth
Good.
with
Take
your
care of it.
old-time
Yes.
knowledge.
Embrace the tunes and the songs, and speaking of tunes, I think we have one tune left here, knocking at your door.
Yeah.
What would you like to tell us about this one?
Oh, I should.
Cyril hat,
So this comes from kind of my last major fiddle influence. This is from a fiddler named Cyril Stinnett, who is another Missouri fiddler. He played
That's a
left-handed.
great name, by the way. It feels like it
Cyril.
should be in a book. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
he always wore a hat that had his name on it, Cyril. And Cyril won like a couple of the very first Weezers. I mean, he was like a killer fiddler, and but he played left-handed on a right-handed fiddle. And I had a tape of a bunch of tunes. There it is. See, it says Cyril right on it. Anyway, I had a tape
a
of
great
just like
picture.
a bunch of random stuff, and I learned this tune, "Knocking at Your Door," but it was unlabeled, no name. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I called Dwight Lamb, who's like kind of the oldest living Missouri fiddler left. He spent bunches of time with Cyril and a bunch of other great fiddlers. And I played it for him on the phone, and he's like, well, that's Knocking at Your Door. That's how Cyril played it. So I played it
Nice.
for him on the phone. But anyway, this is
And
a
we
good...
really have, Dwight was another person who kind of was instrumental in introducing,
educating us on
a lot of people all over the Midwest to some of these fiddlers and some of these tunes and some of his own family's tunes as well.
Yeah, we're lucky to have these guys still around. But this is kind of a good segue that this is a Cyril tune, and Rena and we just finished tracking a little duo project that's got a ton of Cyril tunes on it. So maybe in like 4 years,
If you
can
like
be
this.
back on the back catalog listening party,
Nice.
and we can re-listen to this thing that we're hoping to release this fall. So keep your eye out.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely, and that's steammachinemusic.com. You can follow them, and I can't wait to hear it. But for now, let's listen to "Knocking at Your Door." This is Steam Machine closing out the hour here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Yes, Cheryl.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for a toe tapping good time, Cheryl says. And I will say, you saw our heads bop, our bobbleheads were going strong today on Tony and me. And I will say, while that tune was playing, my watch was telling me, my watch that's far smarter than I was telling me that it was time for me to get up and move around. And I was like, how does it know? Like, it knew it was dancing time. So,
And others agreed. Penny's going to listen to my copy of the CD right
Hi,
now. She
Penny.
has a hard
Penny.
copy. You can have a hard copy too. Just head on over to steammachinemusic.com and you can enjoy all those liner notes and this wonderful high fidelity old time bluegrass music.
so good. And this is so much fun to have you two join us today, AJ and Rena from the band Steam Machine, to revisit this record. This is what we needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you both so much.
Well, it's great to have you here. And again, you can follow them at steammachinemusic.com. Follow them on the social places. Look for them at the festivals and events around this summer. And for that new record, hopefully coming this fall.
Yeah, the Cyril
And-
tunes. Yeah, looking forward to that.
Yeah, and we want to thank all of you for joining us today, because this is why we do this. We love seeing AJ and Rena, but we would probably see them anyway, is my guess. Probably at the various festivals, but we don't get to enjoy music together and listen to in real time with all of you, except every Friday here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. So if you enjoyed it, like it on YouTube's, give it the thumbs up, send more bots to AJ and Rena, and also you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we do this every week. Not with Steam Machine every week, sadly, but with different guest artists revisiting different kinds of old records. Not all recorded on analog, all recorded differently, and that's what we like to nerd out about. So you can join us next week at 4 p.m. Central for another edition. And we want to thank all the folks who support the back catalog by being Patreon supporters. These are the folks that keep us going month to month, long past the month we thought we'd be doing this show.
Yeah, we thought maybe it's a few weeks. Remember, they told us that. They're like, well, in a few weeks, everything will be back to normal. And it's still not, but now this is the new normal. And thank God for all of our Patreon supporters. You're like family now, and we really appreciate that.
Yes, Penny, Anna, Linda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, and John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Court, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead, Pick and Parlor, Severin, Lynn, Craig, Jake, Mary, Many Tracks, and Nikki, and maybe you. If you want to support the show and get invited to cool online after parties and special live stream events, you can go to our Patreon website, scrolling there. And Joni says, one of the best hours on the internet. Thank you, Joni.
Well, thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
going
There's
on
a
the
lot.
press page. That's
Yeah, I
going on
know.
the press page.
Do you write for Rolling Stone, Joni? I hope you do. MS PhD. But I agree. I think, and there's a lot on the internet, so that really means a lot to say one of the best hours on the internet. But we think so. This is definitely the best hour of my week personally. So thank you for being a part of it.
And mostly because of wonderful independent musicians like AJ and Rena. AJ and Rena, thanks again for doing this.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
This is so much fun,
thank
and
you both
thanks
so
for
much.
putting this music out there, folks. Go buy it. Might as well go buy it now. You can go to steammachinemusic.com, get a hard copy. There'll probably be a link to their Bandcamp there if you want the digital files. And we can't just tell you how much we appreciate this. This is wonderful. Thanks everybody for being here. We look forward to seeing you each and every week. So until next week, keep enjoying good music, and we'll see you then here on the Back Catalog Listening Party. Cheers.
Cheers.